Doug Grosser has always been a fan of storytelling, and he started voice acting out of a desire to pursue that love each day. Today, Doug and I are talking about the process of learning to act, dubbing comics, time management and audition strategies, and more. Thanks for watching. So, who are you and how did you get involved in voice acting?
My name is Doug Grosser. I got involved with voice acting probably about 4 years ago, right after the pandemic. Going even further back, I've always been a fan of stories. Ever since I was like 5 years old, my first video game was Super Mario RPG, and I fell in love with the stories that you can be able to create. It wasn't until I got older and got to be able to play Final Fantasy X, which is what I really consider like the birthplace of where I wanted to be able to be a voice actor or even enjoy voice acting, seeing all the performances and the emotions that you can be able to carve out of oneself. More on the technical side, I am an engineer by trade, and so I've had to focus on that for most of my life. And then the pandemic happened, and a lot of things got thrown out the window for most of us. And it was especially just in my apartment during that time. I didn't feel like anything I had done really felt satisfying. Nothing really spoke to me like the stories of Eld and things that I've really loved in the past, things that I've seen others create. During that time, I had a reevaluation of what I wanted to be able to do. And that's what led me into voice acting. It really pushed me to be able to say, you know what? This doesn't feel right anymore. I loved stories. I love being able to share the tales that we have and weave them all together. But I haven't. I haven't done anything like that. I want to do more of that. And so that's really what pushed me over to be able to start going into voice acting and really be able to create the characters that make those tales so interesting.
How did you get started? What were some of the first steps you took?
So at first, I was kind of at a loss. I really didn't know what to do. So Google was always available for us to be able to start looking. And the one website that everybody touts, I want to be a voice actor.com, really started that process of like, what do you have to be able to do? And the big thing is that voice acting is not making funny voices, although sometimes it involves that. It is acting with your voice. And so the first step that I was doing is, well, how do I act? I've done things like drama camps back when I was in high school and things like that, but I've not done anything that crazy in a long while. So I was like, well, let's start taking some classes. Let's see what's out there. And that's where you find Casting Call Club. That's where you look online and you find a dozen of voice actors who are giving private lessons and doing things like that to be able to help you figure out what do you exactly need to be able to do. One of my mentors, Erin Nicole Lindquist, has this like path program of like being able to have a roadmap of, well, what do you want to be able to do? Do you know what you have to move forward with? And there are other voice actors out there who have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years who have a similar program where it's like, all right, you are fresh out of the gate. What do you want to be able to do? Why do you want to be able to do it? And then start pushing forward to that, finding that roadmap. So Casting Call Club, talking with people online, and then just getting a USB Blue Yeti and trying something out, throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
How have you seen from the beginning to today that your voice acting journey has changed, shifted, and grown?
This is not my normal setup. I have my actual booth now, whereas before I had just like a typical closet. But now I have a double layer fabric booth that I have an actual large condenser mic in. I actually have an audio interface. So, I actually sound good. And I've learned some tricks of the trade, for example, of like Source Connect or the programs that other industries use to be able to connect to voice actors so that you can have remote sessions. And I've done a few of those in the past. And the biggest thing that really feels like I've changed is that I've learned to act. Now, it's always an ever growing process, but it's one of those ones of just like, I can always do a funny voice of some very interesting characters, but if I don't know why they are saying what they're saying, then what's the point? And understanding why a character is saying what they're saying, what reaction that they're doing, that really helps with your acting. And that's what I learned is that everybody's always reacting to something in the world, even if it's something internal, something changed their mind. And now all of a sudden, now they're reacting to that and now having that monologue with themselves. So that change of focus has really helped and really made me improve as an actor, which I see now. I'm still surprised that I'm in some things, which is crazy to me.
Tell me about some of the projects that you've been able to participate in.
Some I can't be able to talk about just because they're still under NDA. But some of my favorite ones that are out there right now is that I am actually with Webtoons, or at least I have done Webtoon dubs, the official ones. My favorite one right now is called Superfish. It is one about the titular Superfish, a witch who comes to this world, and a gentleman named DJ who stumbles upon him. And maybe magic happens, maybe romance happens. We don't know. We haven't gotten all the way through yet. But the dubs and actually being able to understand the character behind them has really helped. And a lot of those dubs have been my bread and butter for at least the past year and a half. Various stories like Paranoid Mage, Jackson Diaries. There are some really fun ones out there that I'm surprised that people don't see more of because it's a little bit difficult for everybody to find. But the Webtoons project have been some of my favorite. There is another one that is just a little fun visual novel that I got the lead role in called Cafe Drop. That's just about this skeleton boy going through his days of working at a cafe and then other romantic interests that come along to be able to say, hmm, what exactly is your purpose? And what are you trying to be able to accomplish? As all the stress of life, as he puts way too much on himself, which I have no idea how that feels like. I've never done anything like that to myself. All that coming together and was just one of my favorite pieces to be able to work on.
Where are you currently finding opportunities for auditions?
A lot of social media. So on Instagram, there's a lot of casting calls that are being called out. Twitter has a lot of them. One of my favorite ones to be able to look into, which is usually the most reliable, is that there's a Discord server called the VAC Discord server. This is the one that's done by Kira Buckland. A lot of unpaid, paid fan projects, anything that you can be able to think of. People go there to be able to talk about their experiences, talk about what they've done, and most importantly, post their casting calls. So even if you're not a voice actor, there's also opportunities for editors or audio engineers or things like that to be able to go there. The other things I'd be able to do is what's known as direct marketing. I find something that looks really cool or like some indie project that has their animation posted online, and I'm like, hey, this looks awesome. I noticed that this character didn't have a voice. Is that something that you guys are looking into, or is that something that's going to be coming down the line? And just, starting a conversation with folks to be able to be like, do you need something? Because even if they don't need you at the moment, there might be something later down the road that they might need you for.
What kind of characters stand out to you when you're looking for auditions?
My typical range tends to be somewhere from medium down to low. And there are some of those ones that are like medium high to higher that, I don't think I'm usually like the best voice acting choice, at least in terms of tone, but it's always fun to be able to see what the type of character is. My favorites are pretty much like the opposite end of the spectrum, the very serious and stoic individuals who have the wisdom to be able to lead everybody through. And then on the opposite end, I love chaos gremlins. People who can either just be straight up jerks who think that they have everything put together, but find out very quickly that they don't, or who are just like particular about what they want to be able to do. Somebody who's really just focused on trying to be able to get things done and always has that coy smile coming about are usually like my two ends of the spectrum that I look for and what I try to be able to get to.
When you are preparing to record an audition, what's going through your mind? What process do you take in recording your auditions?
So my background is project management. And so usually that involves a lot of time management. So it comes down to how much time do I have for this role? If it is something that, for example, I only have 24 hours to be able to get done, that is a different process than if I have 2 weeks to be able to get done. The big thing is to be able to look at the script and looking at the specs. First things first is looking at the script. I can be able to find out pretty quickly on how the character actually reacts to things from looking at script analysis. Are they really nonplussed about things that are happening? Are they just speaking to themselves most of the time? Are they very chipper in their language? Things of that nature to be able to help out. And then coming from the specs on like, all right, what is their personality? What do they focus in on? One of my favorite things to find is what is their archetype? Are they a leader? Are they a pacifist? Are they an individual who is trying to figure things out? A wanderer, the everyman, the very typical archetypes that you can be able to find and then just lock into, all right, this is how this character will react. And then taking little bits from the script and a little bit extra stuff from the slides to be able to figure out, all right, how do I make them unique? How do I make them mine? Because that's the fun thing is making the characters my voice for even just 5 minutes or however long the actual recording is.
Have you
Hmm.
made a lot of friends and connected with a lot of people through voice acting?
Oh, absolutely. My first experience was actually through one of these programs, looking out and trying to find the individuals to help me relearn and actually become an actor. Cassandra Lee Morris back in the day had a program called MentorVox, which is a bunch of voice actors coming together that she chose to be able to go in this 8 week program and really learn what it means to be a voice actor. And it was such an honor to be able to be a part of it. But the other honor of it was learning the other members of my community and being able to finally, bounce off of them and find my tribe, my community that I've been missing for so long. In my everyday job, I don't really have the people that have the same interests. But in the voice acting community, there's such a lovely group of people here, such wonderful people who are willing to talk, listen, help. It's fantastic for what they're able to do. And by making those like meetups, I'm able to actually go to conventions and be able to meet them again and actually find even more. I was able to go to Anime Expo and going there, meeting up with my fellow voice actors, finding that community and helping support everybody so that we can be able to feel like we have something that we belong in. It's such an amazing feeling.
What are some challenges that you've overcome through voice acting?
One of the major challenges, and I know this is not a unique challenge, but it is one that I think deserves to have the space to be said, which is my own mountain, the myself being the roadblock. Whether or not I feel like I am good enough for a role, that imposter syndrome, feeling like whether or not I can even continue on or do it. It always bogs down the mind of why am I doing this? Is it even worth trying to be able to go for this role? Somebody else is going to try, somebody else is going to get it. Why am I doing this? And that's really what leads me back to some of those stories, the things that I loved and remembered that I have listened to in the past. And knowing that I want to tell those stories. I may not think I'm right for the role, but if I have fun while I'm auditioning for it or while I'm participating in the project, I have accomplished something. I feel like I am telling a story, even if it's just to the voice director or who's ever listening to the audition for that one moment, actually feeling like it is expanding, is helping somebody out. And who knows, maybe that does land me something. Maybe that does get me the opportunity to be able to say it to a larger crowd. The big thing is trying to be able to work through my own mental hurdles throughout the whole thing. And it's not easy. It's something that you might be able to overcome for a good time, but you always fall back into like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I don't deserve this role. But that's where some of the voice acting community has really helped me. And finding those other peers, finding those individuals to help keep you supported when you feel deflated has really been like a blessing and has really helped me push through a lot of those hurdles.
What does it take to tell a good story?
Tell a good story. Honestly, a good plot always helps, but having a good world and good events happening in there is not as good, in my opinion, as a good character. After all, you can have a chessboard, but the chessboard doesn't really do much if you don't have any pieces. And so having the characters that know who they are or are trying to find themselves as the actor also is figuring them out is really an interesting dynamic. Having somebody who believes in something, who wants to be able to do something, even if that belief is, I don't know what I believe. There is so much out there and I can't understand it. I'll go back to Final Fantasy X, which is one of my favorite games of all time. One of the lead roles, Titus, he has been taken from his world and comes to this new land of Spira and doesn't know fully what's going on. He sees elements from his other world, but all of a sudden he's been thrown into this place. And he doesn't fully know what's going on, but he has his own trauma. He has his own past that he is still working through. And he knows that aspect of him. He knows his past and he's continuing on this journey through it. It's always fascinating to be able to see how he takes his own trauma and turns it into empathy, especially for somebody who the other lead, Yuna, is working through. And for a good portion of the game. You don't fully know why she's on this journey or what she's doing. It's part of her family history. Don't want to give any spoilers for anybody who hasn't actually played this masterpiece of a game that's over 2 decades old, but highly recommend it. It's those characters and them finding themselves or knowing who they are and what they believe. Those are the interesting things, and how far you're willing to be able to push it. Either way, whether it be because of the plot or because of other characters, how they are able to bend or break is a very interesting dynamic.
What are some of your short and long-term goals with voice acting?
Short-term goals is always to get that next audition done. Going through that next audition, finding those next roles, it's everybody's short term. The main ones that I'm looking for is I'm looking to be able to do my actual booking of my first commercial role, of actually being able to make livable wages to be able to try to do this. That's kind of like that medium term goal. The other thing that I'm looking to be able to do is start going to a hub where all this voice acting might be able to be a little bit easier, whether that be Los Angeles or Dallas. You never know where this journey we call life takes us. My other thing is trying to be able to do more agent work. I have an agent through Arise Artist Agency in Los Angeles, and I want to be able to do more work through them. I want to be able to have some of those opportunities and not just, see the sides. I want to be able to hopefully actually get a call back or do some of that stuff. And that's where continuing to learn that acting craft that we all have to work through comes into play.
What is your advice for beginning voice actors?
Don't rely on your voice. Your voice is going to be the best thing that you can do, and it will also be the biggest hindrance. Like I mentioned before, acting is what comes first. Voice acting is acting with your voice. Learn the acting before you try to do things with your voice. It is fun to be able to have your very kooky characters who can go anywhere. But if you don't know how to be able to act as those characters, if you don't know why they do what they do, why they are those crazy, kooky individuals, it's not going to be as fruitful as just having a deep, resonating voice for other folks to hear. Because nobody wants to hear a voice that sounds very stagnant as they speak, even if it sounds good. So having the ability to learn what to act and how to act is the key thing. Don't rely on the voice. The other thing I would recommend is get some other skills too to help with knowing what to act like. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was from a webinar that I got from Liam O'Brien, which is that acting is the art of living. You're living as these individuals and having their beliefs, whoever they are, wherever they are, as wild and as fantastical as they might be. So don't just rely on, acting and acting and acting. Live life. Go out there. Find yourself a restaurant that you can be able to just enjoy yourself out there. Go hike a mountain. Go explore a city. Live a life so that when you have those roles that come up, that's like, oh, this is just a guy who lives in the city. Oh, I know that. I've been a guy who lives in a city. And you can be able to relate to that. So that will lead right back into the acting, knowing how to live. One other thing that I would always love to recommend to folks, because I will never not plug this, is go and do a tabletop RPG thing with friends. Having that ability to make your own character in a non-judgmental environment, in a very fun environment, is a great way to like really stick what characters believe. I'm a DM and I love to be able to bring people into the fold of, all right, now you have a character of your own. How would they react to this? What would they do? And having them know what their beliefs are is always a fun thing to be able to see. Of
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the conversation.
course, thank you for having me.